Meanwhile, we all have our shitty like laptop cams that are
I
just
know.
so bad.
I missed having these meetings. We were doing really good there, but then COVID hit, and so it's
Yeah.
good to be
Yeah.
back.
Well, we're
Hopefully
officially
we can go again
live.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
we will for sure.
Okay, Ellen,
Cool.
were there certain things you wanted to kind of touch on first?
Yeah, so I guess, so I know I've been now to 2 protests. I didn't know how many of you guys have been to protests, but I thought it would be kind of cool to talk about just our experiences there first and
Mhm.
kind of like what we saw, what we captured, what we saw a need for, or like a need meaning any kind of need, like things that we think need to be captured, things that we think, because like, yeah, I don't know. Just I have
Yeah.
lots of
Yeah.
For
thoughts
sure.
So
regarding
I
the
went to-
Toledo protest.
I went to the first one in Toledo. I left before the march, and there were people flying their drones there, but people didn't know that they were like was drones. They thought they were police drones. Like I seen someone, like I saw when I was walking up, someone had the controller, and I think it was like the same one I just got too. So like, oh, they have map gear. And then everyone was like trying to throw like water bottles on it. They said cops were shining lasers at them too. So like I just noticed it's interesting that people like were getting their drones like attacked with throwing water bottles at them and stuff. And
Yeah.
I just
The
thought that was kind of
person,
interesting.
the person that was flying that drone that got the water bottles thrown at it was really, really low. Like there was no reason for that person to be.
You could like
flying it
hear
that
it,
low.
yeah. You could hear it pretty
It
well.
was-
Do you guys know who it was flying the drone?
I saw the girl, but I did not recognize her.
Wait,
Yeah.
so it was a police? It was for the police, or it was not?
No,
There
were
was two, but the one I saw was a Mavic Air that the one they were throwing stuff at, and it was just I saw the person who did it. It wasn't a police officer.
WTOL had a drone.
Yeah.
I don't know if they flew it. I just saw the person like assembling it in the parking lot when I was on my way there. So I do know for sure that they had one. I don't know if it was one of the two. It was a darker one. I think it was a Mavic. It kind of looked
I
like
saw
one,
it was like a
but
dark one.
it was bigger. It was like probably like
I noticed
yay
it too.
big.
It was like blue and red. Was that the one? I think I saw something
Yeah.
like that. I think that's why people thought it was like the police, but I'm not really sure if that's what
Do
it
you
was.
I
think
guess that would make sense that the news would have drones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean, even the crews. So Rob, Donovan, Marquise, and I stayed basically until like 9 o'clock that night on the first one. And we were there, at 3 o'clock, so right on the dot. So like what we saw, I mean, first and foremost, I told myself, I was like, okay, this is for sure going to be history in Toledo. And the one thing I'm not going to do to contribute is like sit on my ass and just stay on the couch and like look at social media or watch the news or anything like that. I knew if I was going to make a difference, it was going to be standing in solidarity with our African-American community. And just seeing what actually happened, because I was so sick of like everything that, not that I'm a huge conspiracy theorist, but like if you look at everything on the news, you're just hearing what someone else tells you. So like I wanted to be able to have my own firsthand account of what happened. And I was like, I have a really, God-given talent of being able to take great photos. So to me, telling the African-American story in Toledo was something that I saw my ability to contribute to. So that's why I brought my camera and decided to take pictures of, I wanted to capture the emotion of it. I wanted to capture, everyone that was out there taking a risk of their own life, because we've seen time and time again how dangerous an interaction between a person of color and the police in any town, in any city can be. So really, I mean, it was a show of courage. It was a show of solidarity for so many people to show up. And a lot of people thanked us for being there, for, capturing the truth, for recording what happened. I mean, not that we got hit directly, but I mean, tear gas is no fun.
Yeah.
I found out why they use it, because that shit works. Literally, it was brutal. And, we wanted to make sure that it was well documented and the story was told. So that's really what I saw the ability for. I'm not a video person at all. So I knew, every day or every time there's something like this, the next day there's, you know, that still of in the newspaper of whatever happened. So I wanted to make sure that I went there to tell an unbiased story. I wanted to see how much I could get of both sides. And not even to play that neutrally. I mean, I'm very, very standing with our African American community.
Right.
How I view the police right now isn't the best, and I really don't agree with how Toledo police handled that protest in particular. I saw a much higher possibility, especially in terms of like communicating with us, like with the crowd. Like they just stood there and said nothing. I mean, you could give like one person with a megaphone to be like, yo, if you guys do this, we will shoot. Like, and that way everyone could have been like, oh, okay, we're not going to do that then, type of thing. But yeah, that's kind of like my account from it. So yeah.
Photos were great, by the way. I was proud of all you guys for all the photos you got. They're great. They really told the story, and you got yours on WTOL, right?
Yeah, I was able to get
cool.
those shared by WTOL. So
Yeah,
That's awesome, Evan. I didn't know that.
That's
yeah,
so cool.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I have that like same kind of feeling like of like this, like I feel like it's like my duty as a photographer, as a videographer to use what I am best at to tell the story but then I have also been like reading so many things on social media about how like as a white person, like because I can't understand what it's like.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Black perspective is, and so I've just been wrestling with the idea of like going and taking pictures and then sharing them. Like, look at
Look at me.
what
Look
I
at my
did.
beautiful pictures. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did anybody see
posted-
like the scrutiny that I came under for the
Mm-mm.
photos that
No,
like I
I want to
posted?
hear. I think didn't you post something on
Yeah.
the Facebook page about? I want to hear what happened
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, so like this was my first time ever really like getting social criticism for work that I've done before. So like it hit me super, super hard because this is year 3 for me basically doing this. So it, you know, it took a while for, I mean, someone shared the like the link from WTOL, or maybe it was the one. Someone posted my gallery from my smug mug, and then someone shared that and was like, you're using this movement to like gain clout, to benefit from it, to profit off of it. This lady ended up calling me scum. She's like, literally, you're doing all this, you're scum. And I was like, I can't like respond to this right now because I got super triggered. I was like, I've never been called scum before. And like, I don't know how to, so like I texted Marquise, I texted Rob, I texted Donovan. I was like, yo, like, people were commenting on my Instagram post. You think it's a great idea to like not, you know, blur out faces and to post these and to like use this for clout and all this stuff. And I was like, oh shit, like what's happening? So like, I mean, I was in tears. Like I didn't know what to do. I was like, am I actually doing more harm than good? And to like tell everything that I know. So there's an organization that's like, kind of like the Professional Photographers of America, but specifically for photojournalists. And it is a best practice that if you are taking photos at a protest to blur the faces out of somebody if they're not, you know, if they are regularly
Masked or whatever.
Correct.
So that's kind of like part of my point after.
And so just to let you, you know, finish like my side of the story with it, I thought about that. And I knew that was a thing. Well, I didn't until after I posted it. And even after reading it, everyone thanked me. Like the only people that criticized it were white. Like not a single person of color commented on it. It was like, yo, this probably ain't a good idea. Like people found my photos on Facebook and like tagged themselves in it. And I also agree that I probably could have waited a day, or, you know, I don't know. It's my thought process was, if anybody in my photos was doing anything blatantly illegal, I was not going to post it. And and that's kind of like where I stand with it. And you know, that kind of shook me because, like I said, it was the first time really getting that type of feedback before on any of my work. And I think, again, mostly because it was only other, you know, white individuals that were commenting on my post, that I ended up sticking with what I did because I received so much positive feedback from, you know, people of color, from our African-American community. A lot of my friends were like, Evan, like, these are amazing. Like, thank you so much. These brought me to tears. So I was like, whose opinion do I weigh out? And I also accepted the risk of, you know, if someone was lighting a police cruiser on fire or doing something illegal, I would not have posted that. I would for sure either blur a face or do something to make them not identifiable.
You know, it's this whole event it's so controversial. Is that the right term? Like, there is just so many emotions going around right now. So I feel like you're either gonna be praised for it, saying like good job, like I myself appreciate those photos because, you know, they told a story and it's art and it just told a story of the event. But there will be people who either are probably for or against whatever, and they, you know, they could get upset and, you know, respond in those ways. But, you know, I have seen a few like articles pop up about like things like that, like blurring faces from protests and stuff like that, like the do's and don'ts of sharing images from protests. And like, it's so interesting because it's such a controversial event that, you know, it's I guess I don't know if it's any different than like just taking a candid photo of someone in public versus going to a, you know, a protest. And, you know, it's interesting.
I do think it might depend to a degree on the nature of the protest, and like I think that also that's something that sometimes can be hard to be determined until it's over, right? Because and that's not like placing blame on any certain side or anything, but like if things get intense and there's tear gas and there's rubber bullets or there's fire or there's broken glass, like that's gonna be a lot more controversial per se than, you know, children holding signs at a park. You know, I think it might kind of be like a different sort of thing. Evan, when you came under fire, you know, when you received criticism for posting those photos, did it give you like a small taste of what it might feel like to be called scum, and to like did it like give you a taste of what it might feel like to be a person of color who is criticized all the time? Like,
I was thinking the same thing.
And to have your work invalidated when you were proud of it. Like, I know it's not exactly the same thing, but it's like you've never had any like barriers, I guess, to your work. I'm not saying you haven't had any barriers, but you've never faced intense criticism for your work before. So 100%. Maybe that wasn't, I wonder if that was an interesting experience.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get, you know, what you were saying, and I know you're not trying to like equate those two things. But like, yeah, I mean, I guess it for sure. You know, that was, I mean, I guess that was like the first time I've ever experienced anything of like having a quote unquote like target on my back. I mean, you can even look, there's this, it was shared on Twitter the other day. There was a photographer from Detroit who took two separate pictures. One is of a person of color holding a weapon, and then another is a white guy holding a gun. And the comments on his feed, literally basically the same picture, doing the same pose, same concept, and just two totally different ways people reacted. Like, everyone with the person of color was like, this is why I left Detroit. Thanks for glorifying violence. Thanks for, you know, promoting these thugs, like all these things. And then the white person was like, oh, dude, John Wick vibes, like super cool, like freedom, all that stuff. And it's like, it's like super disheartening. And like, I couldn't even imagine it. And like, Ellen, you brought up a great point. Like, I think like the number one thing we need to do is get more creatives of color like involved in our group. Like, I know, does anyone know who Paul Moses is? Flex Productions. Like, he is, like, lo and behold, one of the best videographers in our city. Like, he has a couple music videos for local yeah, Flex Productions. I think it's 2 X's. I can for sure share the information.
Yeah.
But like, he has a couple YouTube videos that he's produced for that are like rap videos that have had 1 million views on
That's
YouTube.
dope.
Like, it's disgusting how good he is. So yeah, and to directly answer your question, yeah, I think, you know, that's for sure a problem, like in our community,
Yeah.
not just in Toledo, but like overall, like how do people respond to creative work? And like, and in my experience, it's funny because I think you mentioned it before, Ellen, like it's very hard to find people of color in their work on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Like the only place I really see it is on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that when I was like that was like maybe the day after the Minneapolis riots happened. I was looking for just photojournalists to follow in general, because I was like, I would love to it's like what I like to look at. I like to look at photography, so I want to follow photojournalists who are covering what's happening in the world. And that was like a separate issue. That was like like it was all white men. I was like, oh, where are the women? And then it became, oh, where are the people of color? Like, why can't they exist in the same list? Why does it have to be? Like, why did I specifically have to search female photojournalists to follow on Instagram? That frustrates me to no end. But then to talk about like the like more specifically in Toledo, like I know they exist, and something that I always question is it because like I grew up in a predominantly white community, most of my friends are white. I don't like even like the creatives that I interact with, is it because I just feel more comfortable around white people, so I feel more comfortable interacting with white creatives? Like so yesterday at the protest in Toledo that I went to, are you guys familiar with Dirty Kicks?
Yes. Yeah.
That's familiar.
Follow him on Instagram. Dirty Kicks. He's a pretty well-known Toledo photographer. He's Black and he does film photography. Like he has like a 70-year-old camera. I saw him because I recognized his camera. I saw, like I knew it was probably Dirty Kicks because he had this like really old film camera with him.
Do you know how you spell his Instagram handle?
It's Dirty as just DIRTY KICS. So not kicks with a K at the end.
Yeah.
KICS.
Okay. He mostly like a black and white feed?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to follow him while we...
Yeah, me too.
For sure. But I just think like, I don't know, like maybe that's our role. It's like, I mean, taking photos at protests and like creating work, that's a different subject, but like to promote, because we are white and we have that privilege, like is that one of our roles in this community, to boost our local creatives who are people of color. Like I don't know if there are any Black creatives in our creative group, at least not vocal, not people who are engaging with us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have in the past I've worked with a few filmmakers of color that I'll have to add on to our group. I've worked with a few of them like in a job, and I've also worked with them on some projects, so I'll have to add them to our group. What's I'm trying to think of their production names.
Is it Will Lucas of Creatio by any chance?
No, I'm trying to think of what name they go under.
Creatio is like a really small production company downtown. Creatio, it's like create, but like create radio, because they started out in like radio. But Will is Black and he owns that company, and I've met and talked with him before. But that's like a production company. So I'm thinking of like people like us, like freelancers, like solo artists.
I have a friend that he's a Black photographer, and I'm trying to get him more involved in this group. I can link his Instagram. He's really cool.
Awesome.
He's gay, and we really need more LGBTQ representation.
Yeah.
So not that that has anything to do with his work, unless he wants it to, but yeah.
Another Black photographer that my sister saw at the mommy protest, he was wearing a t-shirt of his own company. quinography with someone, and then I followed him and he followed me back and friend requested me on Facebook. I was like, people are like, it's just, you just have to make that initial connection. I'm assuming, like, I don't know. It's like waking me up to a lot of things that I should have been woken up to a long time ago, I think.
Well, you look at it from the perspective of like literally everything in the world. Like the Toledo bar scene is segregated. The housing like is segregated. Like I haven't had a black neighbor in my entire life, other than the one time I lived in an apartment in downtown Toledo when I was like 6. So like unless we are proactive in inviting people and like actually creating a diverse community, you know, that shit's just not going to happen on its own. You know what I mean? So I think we have to like, there might be that voice in our head. Like, is this disingenuous, or is this not the right thing to do? Like, or do we look like we're just trying to look good or do whatever?
Like, is this performative? Because that's the one thing that I don't want people.
Right.
You know, and that's the reason, like, I didn't bring my stuff simply, because I saw people saying, like, you shouldn't be taking pictures because, like, you want to keep everything anonymous, and, like, you shouldn't be, like, having any profit, and then, you shouldn't be outing anyone. So, like, I specifically didn't bring my gear to the protest because I didn't want to, like, interfere with any of that. So that's something that I've been wondering, is, like, would it be right to even bring my gear to do that? And, like, you know.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to that. I think it's kind of complex.
Definitely. I mean, that was part of my decision too. I'm like, you know, is me just showing up enough, or, you know, do I want to be there as, you know, a photojournalist there supporting the movement, everything like that. So it's not easy. Like, it's not like there's a black and white clear answer to any of this.
Like, you want to help, but you're not sure if that's the right way to do it. Like,
and
it's hard.
I think a lot of it goes between it comes from your intention behind what you're trying to create, like with your work.
Good word.
Like, and your intention really comes across, like, in your message and like how you display your work.
And will you still be posting it a month from now, and 2 months from now, and 6 months from now? I think the follow through has a lot to do with you know.
Another thing that, like, I thought of is, other than my sports where I really didn't have a choice, I have not photographed one person of color in my entire 3 years of doing this. I lied. One person that I photographed that's a person of color. And like, I saw, does everyone know who Alex Stemp is?
No.
He's the TikTok guy that's super famous that literally goes up to random people. He's like, do you want to do a photo shoot? They're like, and he's like, look how famous I am. And they're like,
I do know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So like, he came under a lot of heat because, regardless of the fact that he should be canceled, he came under heat because, like, he just took a picture of someone of color for the first time. And it's like, all right, well, I've noticed that there's definitely a scarcity mindset amongst a lot of people. And like, I totally understand it too. Like, the whole everyone posting black screens, like, a lot of people got pissed at that. And it's like, all right, so it's kind of I don't want to say it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. But when it comes to this kind of stuff that's very, very emotionally charged, I really do think it's going to take like a lot of courage from a lot of people to like make decisions. Like, as a leader in our community, you know, what stand are you going to take for your business? Like, yes, it's gonna, if you photograph a person of color, it might be seen as, oh, why are you doing it now? Or why are you waiting till now to do it? But it's like, it's up to you to be consistent and to like create that moving forward, for sure.
Yeah, then do it in 2 months. Do it in the fall, do it in the winter, you know, like, keep doing it. And I want to be really intentional about that moving forward as well, because I've had very limited work that captures people of color. And it's like, on the one hand, you can say like, well, I've never told anyone no one's just come to me. But it's like, you attract what you post. So like, if you're not posting a lot of diversity, you're not going to attract a lot of diversity. And that's just the way it is. Like,
because like, I've been looking through my feed now, and there was like a point in time where I had a handful of people of color come to me because I posted one picture of my friend Kitty. She's like Egyptian. She has like really dark complexion. Her friend Guyton got to me because he's black and did that, and someone else, it kind of triggered into that. And like, I was looking through my feed right now, and I haven't had a person of color. I mean, I have like a picture of Marquise, and he's like, you know, but he's not like, but not black of the black community. I haven't posted anything in a
Right.
while. But like they're literally looking at it's March 19th of 2019 was the last time I posted a picture of.
That might go back to like just getting more creatives involved in our community too, because I mean, look what happened with us getting together in the last like 6 months.
Yeah.
I feel like because we've been like getting to know each other a little bit better and getting to know the Toledo creative community a little bit better, like I've recommended you guys to so many people when I can't do a job. I'm not kidding. Like all of you right now I have recommended.
You're the best.
So, like,
we love you.
But that's what I'm saying is that like when we all like help, we're all like getting to know each other and we're like, okay, well, I know like that like this person specializes in this and they'd be really cool for this job. Like that's one of the like pillars of why we wanted to create this community.
Right.
So like if we bring more people of color into that community, it could also reflect in our work as well. And then maybe it could, like, it's like a blending of the communities. But the performative thing is like, it's like the accountability is like what Ellen was saying. Like, are you going to continue to be doing this down the line?
So for anybody that might be tuning into this recording later, do you want to like describe what performative means? And also for me asking for a friend.
Performative activism is just essentially posting because it's cool, like doing something because it's what everyone else is doing. It's you're not doing it's intention, like you were saying, is a good word. What's your intention behind this post? Is it performative? Like are you performing for your audience because it's what they want you to do, or is it because you truly have these like values and you want your audience to know like this is who I am?
And that can be really complicated because like you see like people posting like pictures, like someone take a mission trip and they'll take like a picture of like an African American. Like, are you clout chasing or are you?
Don't even get me started on
that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I'm sure not everyone who does it does it for the sake of like clout, but you know they're like, well, you have to really question people's intentions with that. So it's complicated. It's complex.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for describing it for the buddy that asked.
No problem.
Yeah,
I was kind of wondering too.
Yeah, and I think that comes across, and I think part of our responsibility too is if we're going to be documenting these protests and everything, is to really try to be a fly on the wall, and because like there was somebody at the initial protest, this white woman who was standing right next to me, and it's funny because this was caught on the WTOL like Facebook Live, and my buddy recorded it, and I still have the video. I could send it to everyone. It's hilarious. This lady's like going up to this officer and is saying, "Shoot me, shoot me, shoot me, shoot me." The guy that had like the wood pellet shooter, and I was literally like, "Hey, lady, if you're gonna say that, stand like over there, because if he misses and hits me, I'm gonna be pissed. Like it's your fault." And so like. I don't totally agree with like that decision to like provoke that police officer and a movement that's not even yours.
It's
like,
not about you. This isn't your fight.
You see that
unless some African American literally told you, please go do this because we're guessing he's not going to shoot you, then like don't do it. I don't know. And like the one thing that I did to like make a personal statement like for my beliefs and my values was I openly carried my Glock 19 pistol at the protest to kind of show people. Like 2 people came up to me and they're like, "Oh, you have a permit for that, right?" And I was like, so I got to explain to them like their rights as an American. Like all you need to do to carry a pistol on the outside of your hip is to pass the background check to buy it legally. That's it. In Ohio, it's an open carry state. If you had it on the inside of your waistband, then you need to get a class and have a permit and all that jazz. So people are like, "Oh, really?" And they're like, "Well, I'm glad you have it. I trust you more than the cops that have theirs." And I'm like, okay, calm down. But like, still, I get the point. It's like, I love it when people exercise their rights. And that was something that I led because someone was like, "That's going to provoke the police." And I'm like, probably won't. I'm kind of here to make a point that, I'm white and they're not going to see me as a threat. But if someone else did, they might see them. I don't know. It's kind of blurring the lines a bit, but that was like my intention behind making that decision. And a lot of people thanked me for showing up with that, basically.
Yeah,
well, I think that relates to, how like everyone said, like, you see more protests in COVID, like a bunch of white men with fucking AR-15s everywhere, nothing happened. And like, you have a bunch of peaceful protests now, and it's like fucking tear gas stuff. But like, what were you gonna say, Zach?
I was gonna say, I've definitely seen an interesting variation of like vibes of protest. Like the one in Toledo like seemed like pretty chaotic with all the tear gas and stuff like that. But I've also even seen some like if any of you follow Casey Neistat, I think one of his stories showed a protest in like LA, and like it almost seemed to be like it was a peaceful protest, but it was like it definitely, I mean, I guess that's where it comes from, is you either have a peaceful protest or it's not peaceful. And the peaceful protest that they had there seemed to be almost like I don't want to say a fun protest, because that's not really
It's like a festival kind of like
more of like a
seemed like it was
positive like
laid back.
energy than like
Yeah,
more
it was,
yeah.
it was
It was
laid back.
productive. Like,
Yeah.
I can tell you, I think that just from my experience, and I don't know, like, I can't back this up because I've only been to 2, but the 2 that I've been to have I think it's the police presence that kind of not decides what that's going to be like, but it definitely charges people up differently.
dictates it.
Yeah, I actually live in LA. I'm in Toledo for like, hey, I'll turn my video on.
Oh, hey.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Please
Wait,
chime in.
Sorry, it's a drag race. Let me just
Nice.
I love your permanent background. That's amazing.
Yeah, I live in LA. I'm back at home to quarantine and all of that. And I've talked to I have all of my coworkers and my friends went to all of the protests. And I think definitely at the beginning, they were pretty violent, actually. Not because of the protesters, I think because of the police presence. And I know once curfew was instated, the LAPD was doing a lot of not great things in terms of the curfew was 6 p.m. and then at 4:42 they moved it to 5 p.m.
Ethically questionable.
Yeah, and it's LA, people are walking because parking and all of that. So
you can get anywhere in 15 minutes in LA. Yeah, that sounds great.
I wish. But I know a lot of people who went to those protests, and I think they have they've become more peaceful now because I think the police are realizing that videos of them firing rubber bullets or launching tear gas or there are a lot of videos from LA of police shooting rubber bullets at the backs of people who were in neighborhoods. It was really intense, the videos coming out of it. But I also will say that LA is I think very ready to rally around this as well, and I think a pretty socially conscious city, so people
sure
are also very passionate. And also a lot of people are furloughed and stuff like that too, so they are able to get out and protest and all that. But this weekend they were really peaceful, I think, and I think they were always peaceful. I think things kind of went downhill once the police showed up, but yeah, this weekend they were incredibly peaceful, and hundreds of thousands of people turned out. And it's every day I have an Instagram that's here are 8 protests today, here are 8 protests tomorrow. It's continually ongoing as well.
Right. That's
I think that's honestly even the same in Toledo. It seems really that first protest in Toledo was the only one that had any kind of violence, and it was because of the police. I mean,
they weren't ready. They didn't know how to handle it.
I know that there were people there were protesters who may have incited some kind of whatever, but the police did act the way they acted. And then the ones that I've been to, there's been little to no police presence. And the intent behind the first protest, I think, was peaceful. The group that hosted it, the Community Solidarity Response Network, they have only had peaceful intentions. I don't know of
it wasn't we're gonna meet at 3 to smash cars.
Exactly. So
that wasn't the intention.
Well,
I mean, literally in Oregon, Ohio, yesterday there was a Black Lives Matter protest, and there was not a single Black person. I don't think many even live in Oregon, and I was like, this is awesome. That's super cool that they just took up a corner in the bar. And I mean, and I think the one thing that's so amazing from it all is shit is changing. It's actually happening. And then I think it's up to us to realize that it's not going anywhere soon. I saw a post the other day, I can only recall one of the 4 things that were shared, but I know the Montgomery bus boycott that lasted 385 days, and things take longer than a week. So we're in this for the long haul. And I really do think it would support the movement and support the community for us to continue to show up and then, you know, document responsibly.
Yeah, and I think there are some also like the resources online on like various social platforms are really incredible too. Like for me, it's been like, okay, like if I want to go to a protest or if I want to post this or if I want to do something, like I have been Googling to see that like what Black people who are leading the movement are recommending and then kind of following their lead too. Like if I'm unsure about something, if I feel like I don't know kind of how to represent a viewpoint, or if like I'm not sure what I should do at a protest, or even like what I should chant, kind of looking for those resources online has been like, they're everywhere. Like they're everywhere. There are so many great ones, from like reading lists to things you can do in the long term to like where you can vote. Like it's just been like the information available has been really incredible too.
Yeah.
With going off of that, I recommend you guys all just follow the CSRN, the Community Solidarity Response Network in Toledo, because they're like the overall group who is like trying to kind of like look over all, because there's a lot of other people who are organizing protests in the area, but they're trying to kind of like be that like overall like umbrella, like come to us if you have questions. But they were the ones behind the first protest. And then the one that I went to yesterday is this group called Toledo Together, which has been is a smaller group started by UT students, and they've gained a lot of traction really quickly and have been having protests almost every day or some kind of event, or like they're really trying to stay active. So
That's awesome.
So I think like trying to, like for us, at least how I've been approaching this is like, okay, I'm a part of this community and I support this movement. How can I use my talent here? So like when I took the pictures that I took yesterday, I sent them, I talked to the organizers and I said, hey, could you guys use these for anything? And they were like, yes. So it goes like, so like Evan, how you're saying like people who you took photos of reached out to you and tagged themselves in it. It's like, go to the source, probably, like see what they are in need of. This also is making me think of, Ellen, of the project that you have kind of been mulling over.
Yeah.
Do you have any, like, do you want to share any of
how I'm still working on it. It's like, I just kind of wanted to, I mean, I really love video. Video is like what I've come to focus on. And then I'm just realizing that my feed is like all white girls, and I'm kind of over that. Like I need to be really way more intentional about representing people of color. You know, I do have some weddings for people of color this year, but I just feel like it's not enough and it's not soon enough. So I've been trying to reach out to some of my Black friends and family members just to see if they would be like, I just don't want to like talk too much, because like I'm a white lady. I've never experienced these things. I don't feel unsafe when I get pulled over. I've never been discriminated against. It's like, I just want to use whatever skills I do have to put their voices forefront, like on my social media platforms. So I'm going to be doing kind of like anonymous like interviews with some Black people in our community. I mean, I have some prompts, some questions that they can answer if they want to, or they just giving them a time to talk about whatever they want to talk about. Like, what do you wish people understood about being a person of color, or like, you know, just anything. And I'm just going to get like video shots of just like non-identifying things. Like I just have images of like their hands while they're talking, or maybe like a little bit, if they're comfortable, like their hair, or like maybe shots from behind of them like walking, or their shoes on the ground, and I don't really want to have the image be on their face anyway, because I would just want people to listen to what they have to say. So it's just like a little mini project I'm working on over the next couple weeks, and I'm gonna post it to both like my personal and my like wedding film business, because I just want to make it really, I only want to attract clients who agree with that, and I want to repel clients who don't agree with that, because I have no interest in furthering my, you know what I mean? Like I know what I want my business to stand for.
I'm glad you just said that, because that's another thing that I've been thinking a lot about too, is like we have like professional businesses here, like we have a client network. Like how do we want people to, or how do we approach this from like a business perspective. And something like Rob's post on our Facebook group really struck me, because I like was also I agreed with him of the like all these businesses were posting these statements where I was like,
standing in solidarity with
yes,
the sisters. No, like
I was like, I don't want that. I don't want that. Like, I don't want to do something like that. But I still feel like there is probably a need for me to kind of reaffirm, like, here I am and I support this movement, or like, I don't know. So that's something too that I'm wrestling with in my brain. Like, how do I do that? I don't know if any of you guys are having any of those same thoughts, but.
Yeah, I know I haven't really said too much on social media about this whole thing. I did the Blackout Tuesday thing on Instagram, but I've definitely been like collecting my thoughts on all this, and I'm like, should I post something on like Zach Films? Like, I know it's a very controversial thing, but
I haven't posted
I
like
feel
2
like
weeks.
it's all. What's that?
I haven't posted like 2 weeks away. I just don't have time to post anything.
Yeah. So I'm like, and like I watched this TikTok video of this business guy, and he was saying something about like how, if you as a business like speak out like on your views on this, like sometimes that can actually help like create like loyalty, like loyalty for your customers, your clients, because it shows that you care, and things like that. So I've definitely been trying to think of if I want to do something like that, or I'm just kind of trying to decide like how to approach it, so I approach it in the right way, I guess.
Well, my feedback on that is so one of the 7 habits of highly effective people is to seek first to understand than to be understood. And like right now, I mean, for me, like I feel like part of my responsibility is to like shut the hell up and like listen and like learn about like what's actually happening. Cause like a lot of what I thought America was, and like a lot of the formations I've had in my head, like really got turned on their side. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched the documentary 13th.
I want to watch it.
Like I literally just finished that either last night or 2 nights ago. And like, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I think, Zach, if you want to post something, like maybe say something to that accord, like you can call out like racism has no place in our country, white supremacy must die, Black Lives Matter, and also I'm here to learn. Like what you can count on for me as a business owner is to like put in the work to like learn and hear and listen, like not only to people's experiences, because I think having dialogue at these events, these protests is great, but to also like do your research and like figure out like what is actually happening, like the whole like war on drugs with Nixon and Reagan, like what their plan was. And they literally set up a police system to keep communities down. Like anytime a leader would rise to the top, they'd be able to arrest them. They'd be able to break things up. Like it's nuts. And that's never happened to white people. Like, so that's like, that's my feedback.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, I've kind of been back and forth, like, should I post something, or is it best to just, stay back, but I also feel like I'm doing a disservice by not saying anything. So, I'm just.
For me, I just couldn't not say anything. I just couldn't live with myself. And I just wanted to be sure that if I had any followers or anyone who was considering booking with me that blatantly disagreed with it, that they would separate themselves from me. Like, and it doesn't have to be a super long ramble pretending I understand all the intricacies of what's going on, because I don't, and I'm trying to improve that. I just wanted to at least make a base statement and like make my position clear that like I support the lives and the worth of Black people, and I'm trying to counter racism and implicit bias that's present in all of us. All of us have elements of racism in ourselves. We all have implicit bias. You can't say like, oh, that's not me, I'm not racist. Yes, we are. Every one of us is racist a little bit. We have to counter it and acknowledge it and take steps to improve it forever. Like that's how I feel.
It's just like building any habit. Like there's certain things that are kind of inherent and taught. It's like having a feeling of anger doesn't make you a bad person. It's like how you respond to that anger. Like, do you channel it into something that's passion, or do you channel it into rage and like get vengeful? So it's like when you see somebody that's different, it's like it's totally up to us to how we respond to it. Do we include them? Do we, become prejudiced? Whatever it might be, like we totally choose our response to what's inherently like inside of us. So
I've been very vocal about my stuff pretty recently, like on my pages. I just don't give a shit. I just really don't give a shit.
I know, I love it.
A good resource is, if anyone knows a social worker, I'm pretty sure social workers are like basically trained on like Black history and why systematic racism exists.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's, if anyone knows like a social worker, you can even just talk to them, because they, like, white or black, they know like what's happened, why people are like, so why Black neighborhoods are gentrified, and why people go through this, and why they're always grouped together, and why this happened like this. They're literally trained to know that stuff, so they know how to talk to people. So I think if you know a social worker, if you need a resource to like educate yourself more, you can find someone who is familiar with that, because they really just know that stuff. That's part of like their training and what they need to know to like work with their community. Because a lot of people who need work in like social work community are people of color, and so like they just know like everything.
A lot of the like anti-racism educators too, and like Instagram and stuff, offer like online courses as well, in terms of like how to be actively anti-racist, like how to disassemble your privilege, like how to look at what you've been afforded and how to change that. And like some of those courses are paid, but I also do think it's like these are people who have made this their life's work, and we should be paying them to help us as well. But there's like I've enrolled in a bunch of Zoom courses that are like, like examining like armchair activism versus like actually being an accomplice. Like there's a lot out there too, in terms of like, if there is something you want to learn about, there are people who can really help you learn about it as well.
Yeah. And it's like tough because, with all of this, all of us, it's our responsibility to have like tough conversations with people, like in our family, like close friends, because like it's going to be very surprising who like disagrees with what you're saying.
Grandma.
And right, I mean, there's certain people where it's like, can you really make a difference in that person's life? Like you can stand by what you're doing, but like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it's very important to meet people where they're at and really try your best to have a conversation instead of like a confrontation. I know that kind of sounds like, I feel like we're in such of a cancel culture mode. And it's not so much that we need to like hear what they're saying, because like I feel like people hide behind the whole like First Amendment thing and like really use that to like protect their like racism. So just I don't know what I'm really trying to say. It's just like there's for sure like an emotionally intelligent way to have those conversations, but be prepared to, and like don't like back down. Like 4th of July is coming up. We're gonna have family gatherings. Someone's probably gonna say some racist shit.
I've been posting. I try to focus my Facebook posts because I feel like Twitter is just everyone who's like-minded. I've realized. So like I'm not really doing much by retweeting other people like, hell yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, I mean, we know that.
Everyone there already agrees with you.
It's kind of the thing. That's why I've been make sure I post, because I don't even post on my Facebook ever. This is the most I posted on my Facebook in like 4 or 5 years. But like I know I have a bunch of family and stuff to follow. But instead of trying to shit on like just strictly shit on cops and say like all cops are bastards and all that stuff, I'm just like, this is a resource for you to learn why this is this or why is this. Or I'm like, I think on Instagram I post stuff like, this is what you say when like, here's some talking points for you to go through when your family says like, they're just like, the general stuff that you always hear, the big ones. And like I've been trying to share more educational things, more angry things. Or like,
I think that's very smart. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I pepper some angry stuff in there for our boy Trump here and there, but like I'll for the most part with a lot of this stuff, it's like people just don't know they need to be educated because it was raised this way. So I'm like trying to find a way, like, this is what we're seeing. I know you don't see it, but this is what's going on. Like this is happening in Toledo. This is what we're doing with right now. Like this is in your hometown, this isn't a foreign issue. Or like if you don't understand why I know why you say all lives matter, and I'm sure you don't do it to be completely racist, but doing that is like racist. Here's a whole video explaining why you need to understand what Black Lives Matter. Stuff like that. Like it's try to educate people.
I just remembered one last point I wanted to add on to what I just said. So like everyone in their ego, like everyone's ego has this inherent need to like be right about something. And there's a lot of people that are like grasping onto that for dear life. Like they will die on the smallest hill.
The smallest hill.
Very literally, like, and it's very important to like remember that, because it's like there's some people where it's like I see it explained so well, like why all lives matter, like saying that isn't relevant. Like it doesn't matter. Like that notion isn't being attacked by people saying Black Lives Matter. Like it's not like a us versus them thing. Like and they still don't get it. Like they just do whatever they can and like just say whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's like, I think it's important to like remember that moving forward, where like so many people's egos are getting attacked, and they're going to defend that to the last breath with everything they have, because I think that's really just part of human nature. It can be like, you know, I mean, I'm sure we've been in arguments with people and try to be right about the stupidest shit, and like, you know, even though we kind of know we're wrong, it's something very minor, like I need to be right here type of thing. So
I think something that I'm learning from this whole thing too has been like learning when to admit that you yourself are wrong, because I feel like because of this, I am like learning so many things that I was like, whoa, yep, I'm wrong about that. Like, and like having like tearing down your pride and saying like, so I posted something about this earlier, but now I just realized that's like maybe not correct. And here's why I don't think that's right. And like, and I think maybe like if, I don't know, maybe that can be, you can be an example to your family when you say like, oh, I was wrong about this. Like maybe you could be wrong about this too.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. It's like, isn't it like confirmation bias, I think is what it's called, when like people always look for things that confirm what they already believe.
Right.
And they will share those things and like, here's what I think about it. So, you know, you're going to share those things. You're going to look for those things. Anything that's counter to that, you just instantly disregard it and you don't read it, and it's not a part of your world. And I just think it's super dangerous, and we're all guilty of it. But
I say it's not like a partisan issue. That's just like a general issue for everyone, no matter what side you're on.
It's like psychology.
Yeah.
So I think that you're right, Ellen, that it is super important to like just try as hard as we can to like be willing to admit fault and admit mistakes and admit that we're changing our way of thinking. Because we all have things that we used to think about in a certain way 2 years ago and 5 years ago and 10 years ago. And then now looking back on it, we're like, oh, that was not right. So I think that's something we need to work hard in ourselves. And it's something that we can hopefully try to encourage in our environments and our families and our worlds, you know?
Right.
Do you guys have any other like, because I feel like we kind of strayed away from the creative aspect of this.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
It is important though. I'm glad we talked about it, because I think that's at the heart of it.
Definitely. But do you guys have any other thoughts just kind of on the, because I really would love to be focusing on the Toledo community, because it is something that obviously like probably all creators are struggling with right now, is especially, you know, white creators, like how can I be in this space productively, and but in Toledo at least, I don't know, do you guys see anything? So, like for me,
are you looking for a call to action? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Like what can we do?
I for sure see like this meeting that like we're hosting. I feel like we should try to get as many creatives of color as possible to like tell their story, to like see what their struggles are, to like listen, learn.
I think it's a good idea.
Like see what's going on and like give them this platform, like and invite them into our community. Like, you know, the more and more I think about it, I mean, we should for sure have a much more diverse, because there's so much creativity in Toledo.
We need to actively recruit diverse people.
The most diverse person I know is Marquise, and that's basically it. So
I also think like having like open, you know, like photography sessions, or even stuff with like kids or high school students especially, is like You've been seeing a lot of like, you know, like there are like internships that have been discontinued and all of this stuff. And it's like, I think fostering people too as they like grow and become adults and all of that too, and showing like kids and high schoolers too that like this is a path, and you know, like I'm happy to show you and to walk you through it. And also like if you're interested, you should come. Like I think that's a big thing too, is kind of appealing to younger people too who may be interested but don't quite know, you know, where they can go or what they can do or what the steps are.
You know, I've always wanted to partner with like either the United Way or maybe like the Arts Commission, and like I would for sure teach a photography class for free, you know, to underprivileged kids, you know, in the Toledo area. Like come out, try it, like pick up a camera, take some photos. Like it is such an amazing passion. Like it has opened up a whole new world for me. And it's only something that I've been doing for less than 3 years now. So I couldn't imagine, you know, that's something I picked up when I was 21, 22. So I couldn't imagine if someone was able to find that at age 6, age 7, age 8, 9, 10, whatever it is. So
like I picked mine at 25 and I'm like, dude,
yeah, I started at like 27. I wish I started younger.
And
26,
to allow someone that escape or that passion at a younger age, especially in a, you know, impoverished community or someone coming from a, you know, underprivileged family, like I couldn't see a better use of my time to do something for free.
Right. Do you think that there might be a barrier to access in like the cost of like film and photography?
100%.
Because like cameras
like
are
anything.
I feel like there once was, but it's less now with like the advent. Like obviously an iPhone isn't ideal, but I think like the advent for most young filmmakers now, or the access is a lot lower than it once was.
That's
even
true.
in the 90s. Like you have a phone, you have a, you know, like a pretty solid video recording system in your hands at all times.
Right.
It's a great place to start, you know, and explore the passion, explore the hobby. And everything like that. So
like
even if it's
storytelling
just,
is something that you know, like you can get the gear eventually, but like even building those blocks now,
right?
Really,
even just teaching people like, you know, the perfect times to take photos, because everyone, like I know a lot of people think like, oh, it's noon, like let's go take photos. It's like, oh, those are gonna look terrible, man. Like let's not do that. Like teach them about golden hour, like diffused lighting, just even similar concepts like that.
Right.
If you can find good lighting, you can take great photos with an iPhone.
Yeah, I would love to see us. I know months ago we were talking about setting up like classes or something like that. And I would definitely love to see that come back and to start talking about doing, because I mean it's nice out now, it's summertime, it's, you know, perfect time to do this. So I would love to like you know, see if we can get together some meetup at like a park and, you know, go shoot or something like that, because I know, especially from working at Best Buy for like 3 years, I know that there's a lot of people around here who really want to do this, but they're just lost. They don't know where to go, how to, you know, they're just lost of what camera to get, or these pictures look crappy. What am I doing wrong? So I would love to.
We've all been there.
Yep. For sure.
I'm still there a lot.
We all are.
Yep.
So well, I think we should have more of these meetings too, with this topic in mind. And if we can get some people of color in the conversation, I think that would also help, because like it's a lot of us assuming or like guessing what they are needing from us as white allies. Like that's something that I am worried about as like a white ally. Is like I don't want to be approaching this in the wrong way.
How about each? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was saying we could do that, or I'm actually pretty strong on the idea of like a social worker still. Like you just brought it into that to like say, how do we communicate this? Like I said, they're literally professionals in that field, white or black. They know their stuff.
The community solidarity response and like all of like local nonprofits and networks and all of that who are like organizing these protests and marches and all of that might be like a great place to reach out to too, because I think they can leverage their network and also tell you like what they need.
Yeah,
maybe there are people who are like, I know like graphic designers were offering their services for free,
right?
Or your sign makers or anything like that. So I feel like they're also going to be hopefully a really great resource to say like, this is what we need, or these are what we need here, and please bring this, or like please don't do this.
Like, speaking of like workshops and stuff, so this Community Solidarity Response Network they like hosted like a protesters' rights workshop over Zoom. And Camille, you just gave me the idea of like, okay, so everybody's got an iPhone, everyone's taking pictures at these protests, whether you're a photographer, a videographer or not, like everyone is taking photos. So like something could be like even just like some kind of like photography and protest workshop, like a conversation with photographers and creatives for the community to learn like, you know, how best practices when you're at a protest, you know, the whole blurring faces, that kind of stuff. Especially because it's something I need to learn and want to learn more about, because I want to continue going to protests and I want to continue photographing them and filming them. So that might be something that we could look into. And I like that idea.
Yeah, and especially in this time, Ellen, I think there's no better time than now to have something like that, because we were just talking earlier about all that like blurring faces and stuff. I think that's all very interesting. It gets a little bit into like sort of the legal side of like photographing people in public, but it also could be a great way to teach people to take portraits and, you know, composition, all that stuff, like all that, you know, can tie into that.
I think this is like a basic ethics in question with doing this too. Like I saw some video a while ago, it was like a kid getting maced, but instead of helping, there was like 4 photographers who ran in to get a picture of the kid being maced. Like, is that ethical to be like, all right, like now is this clout chasing or is this like, I think that'd be something important too, is the ethical side of this. That's basically what we're all arguing about, what's ethically right in the situation. So that's just, I don't know.
I also think it's like, how are you like an ally at these, you know, like how is it not opportunistic, but more of like, you're there as an ally, you're there to support.
Yeah.
Right. Like, do you take off the t-shirt and put the sign down and go back to the rest of your life? You know, like, is it carrying over into the rest of your life?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Yeah, I definitely think, you know, in terms of like action steps, what's next is getting more creatives of color in our group, and then setting up another meeting like this and letting them tell their story. Because again, like Ellen made an amazing point. You know, we can get so caught up in like thinking we know like what needs to happen, but it's like, you know, we're not the oppressed. We're not the ones that are.
We have no idea.
Right. we literally don't know jack shit.
We just want to help. Like we just want to do something, and like, you know, like there's a lot of you know, checking your privilege when you are like enraged and like angry as a white person, because like we just don't even know, like we can go home and like be comfortable after a protest. So I think as creatives, that's something that like we do have kind of a little bit of a role here, like to tell these stories, but like I really want to do it the right way. Like
it's not easy. It's very complex.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like that. I think, you know, I actually found the person I was thinking of. His name is James. I think it's Sells Bragg, and he's from Television Films. I worked with him on a film years ago called Talk Nerdy to Me. Anyone ever heard about that? It was called Talk Nerdy to Me.
Talk Nerdy to Me. I was like, the song by like Derulo or whatever.
Yeah, it was. I think it was like the name I think was referencing something else, but yeah, I helped like in a few scenes with that movie, and he was one of the videographers from that. So I think you know, if each of us can add a few people we know of color,
right,
that'd be really cool to, you know, get more diversity in the group, and you know.
Like seriously, I think each of us should try to like either find a creator of color in our community. It's like I don't want to like tokenize and be like, oh hey, you can be my show and tell, but either that or just make a friend, make a new friend of who's a person of color, even if they're not into creative work, or find a creator of color who lives anywhere and be really intentional about sharing their work and supporting them. Like I think we all need to like give ourselves this like assignment of here's what I am going to actually do in the next few weeks before we meet again.
And then we can, and when we meet again, I agree. Yeah. When we meet again, we can share those experiences and like bring people, because like this can't be a one-time thing.
Yeah, just like take someone out to coffee that you're like, oh, I know you are, but like we're not super close. It's not going on right now. Like, would you be open to grabbing coffee with me? I just want to learn more about like what this experience has been like for people of color. Like, I just think we all need to take actual steps of action to like learn more about experiences that are different from our own. Just my thoughts. But yeah.
That'd be fun.
This has been really good, you guys.
Yeah. I'm glad to see everyone, and us all getting together and just talking. It just makes you feel good, gets the creative juices flowing, sharing ideas. I like it. Let's keep doing this.
I know. I miss seeing everybody.
I do too. It's been a weird few months.
No kidding.
I hope you guys are all still getting work of some kind.
Yeah. My work, I'm noticing that my work is definitely getting busier. Like more and more people are wanting to do more things. I'm working with a few clients. I have 3 clients that I guarantee a couple videos a month for. So that's been keeping me busy. And then I have some on the side who, I'm going to give a video to, and then, we may or may not do more work together, but it's getting busier. People are getting out more and doing stuff now.
Good. Well, thanks guys for coming and talking about this with me.
This was really good. Thank you for coming up with the idea and hosting it, you guys.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, we're for sure going to do this again. And
go
ahead.
When should we meet again? Like a month, or what do you think?
I think sooner.
I think sooner to keep it more active, probably like at least a week.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, like this has been something that like I have been like literally every day feels different. Like there's something new coming out every day.
Because it does.
Like, right. Like so like I feel like in order to keep ourselves in check, we should be as like on it as possible. At least I'm going to try to be.
I literally spend an hour every morning on my phone just looking at everything. I'm like, wow, this sucks.
Longer than an hour over here.
Yeah, that's just my morning. That's just my morning. That's before I get out of bed. I'm just like, oh, bro.
Yeah. Scrolling through Twitter for just hours.
Yeah.
Look at these new videos.
At least doing it, like doing the meetings in Zoom format, thanks Corona, like actually is kind of nice because it's not like it's not as big of like a time commitment, I think, for it's easier. It's like I don't have to pick out an outfit, I don't have to drive, I don't have to buy a coffee. Like I love that, but so awesome. But like in
a way, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but it kind of promotes the like listening and like letting one person talk at a time a little bit better, because in our past meetings like things had just go awry, like things just like we have like a time where people share and then like 2 groups form and then they start talking and then everyone's just like
it's kind of stressful.
There was never any structure. Well, yeah, true.
It is tough to have multiple conversations in this though. Definitely.
Yeah.
You can't really talk over people like
yeah, that's a good point.
Cool. Anything else for the good of the order? We can obviously stay on this a little bit longer, but are we good to end the recording, we think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't
even realize you were recording that until halfway through.
Yeah.